Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Welcome to the 10 a.m. morning show. This is my first 10 a.m. morning show in the studio and it's good to be here. A long day today. We've got the United game 8 p.m. tonight just across the road at Old Trafford against Everton, the FA Cup. We're going to be getting into all of that as well. But we've also got some transfer updates, as you will see from the title, and we have some João Felix news, which is really exciting, especially looking towards the January window. Looking forward to maybe pushing as far as we can. I mean, some people are speaking about a title. I'm not one of them, or maybe I am. We'll find out. And also we've got some news surrounding Jack Butland, our first signing of the January window. I'm sure you all know about from now. And some quotes from Ten Hag. And also going to be diving into Jadon Sancho and what the updates are on him and what quotes Ten Hag has said on him and kind of the updates we can get from that. And it's actually really positive and I think it shows that we're moving in the right direction. But good morning everyone, welcome to the morning show. Everyone get settled and yeah, nice to see you all in the comments down below. I've got your comments here and thank you everyone for wishing me a good morning to you too. But we'll start off with the news that is coming out, and it came out late last night and then I actually ended up seeing it in the morning today, and it is from Relevo, which is a Spanish outlet, and they are reporting that MUFC has accelerated its intention to sign João Felix and has launched a first proposal through Jorge Mendes, a simple loan without purchase option until June for €4 million and full salary. And then they go on to say as well that Atletico are asking for between 12 and 13 million euros, which is triple Man United's current offer, and for Felix to leave on loan. And Arsenal are also very aware of the situation. So that to me tells me, first of all, I think €4 million, they're never going to accept that. I think it's a little bit of an insult offer. It's like, I was watching The Apprentice last night. Is anyone watching people might be watching The Apprentice now, it's back on TV. I was watching that last night, and sometimes when you go in with a really kind of insulting first offer, it actually puts people off, as you would have seen on the show yesterday. So I just think with that, €4 million for me, I think is a little bit insulting for João Felix. I think he is definitely worth more than that, even if it is a loan, because he's an exceptional talent, and no matter how poorly he's doing at Atletico at the moment and how bad the disruption is between him and Simeone, they're going to want more money for someone that they paid that amount for and has that ability, especially when Man United are so desperate and they've paid really high prices in the past. Do I think 12 or 13 is a little bit high? Yes, I think you could probably get it for around 8, 9, 10 million if you really push them down to the wire. But the most important thing about this for me is that Arsenal are very aware of the situation, and that makes me nervous because Arsenal don't have Jesus. He's injured at the moment. I don't know when his expected return is, but I don't think he's very close at the moment, and they're going to need someone as soon as they can. I know that Nketiah has been doing very well, and I think Nketiah is a good player, but they're going to want squad depth the same way that we want squad depth. And Mudryk looks like he's being kind of tempted by Chelsea at the moment. Chelsea are just following everybody else's targets and looking towards getting Mudryk in, and if they offer more money, Shakhtar are probably going to go with Chelsea. That means Arsenal's #1 target will be off in January if they don't manage to get that over the line. They might be looking for someone who can play a number 10, someone that can also play off the left, off the right, up front. So Felix is a situation that Arsenal will be very aware of because he's a very talented player, like I would say. But everyone in the comments get down below, what do you think the right price is for Felix, and do you think it's really important we get this deal over the line? Personally for me, I really like him. I bet you're probably bored of hearing how much I like Felix at the moment. I know Adam and Charlie are because I really rate him, but some people think we should be going for a more number 9 type striker. So get in the comments down below what you think. People are saying 7 to 8 million, 10 million. I think around that mark is good. I think 8 to 10 million is what we should be going for regarding this Felix loan. And people will say that we don't have the money for it, so we won't pay it. Everyone needs to remember that how much money that we're saving from Cristiano Ronaldo's wages. It is a huge sum of money. I think Cristiano Ronaldo, I can't even remember how much he was on, but it was a lot a week. He was the highest paid player at Manchester United. I think he was the highest paid player in the Premier League as well, and he was on a huge sum of money that Manchester United are saving from letting him go in December. So I think it's really important that we use that money wisely and we go and get João Felix, if I'm being honest with you, before Arsenal can kind of swoop in on this deal. The one thing I would say about this as well is we're also being linked to the likes of Depay, Choupo-Moting, some people talking about Moukoko. And with these types of players, I do think we need like an out-and-out number 9. I am on that bandwagon. I think João Felix is an exceptional talent that has a lot to offer. I think he will improve goal contributions and I think we will score more goals with him in the team. I think he will get into that team quite easily, actually, because I think when the shackles are off him from Atletico Madrid with Simeone, he has something to prove. He seems like an Erik ten Hag type player. I think he will be able to contribute. Will he be able to be an out-and-out number 9 in the Premier League when he's not really been doing it at Atletico? And when he has played as a number 9, it's been in the front 2. We play with obviously 3 across the front line, 1 out-and-out striker and 2 wingers. Will be able to do that? I'm not too sure. Will be able to contribute to goals? Absolutely. But then a lot of people were saying that's the reason why it's good that we avoided Cody Gakpo, because he's more of a winger type player and not an out-and-out forward. But then João Felix is kind of the same thing in that situation. I mean, Gakpo can play number 10 as well, but he can play number 10. But I think it's the talent that you're getting in with this player, and he's going to improve the front line and he will be able to score goals. He's got aerial ability, he's good with his feet, he makes good runs, he has good hold-up play. I mean, watching him at Atletico Madrid, he has to have good hold-up play for how defensive they are and how quick they usually tend to break. So I think there's a lot of attributes to his game. But then I've got comments in the chat saying we should go for Choupo-Moting. He is quality, to be fair. And Amir Somali says Depay, Thuram, Moukoko are all better than Felix and cheaper. I disagree with you. I don't think they are. I think Moukoko is a really, really good talent, but I don't think any of them are better than Felix at all. 5 million we've saved from Ronaldo's wages, exactly, that can go towards the Felix deal. Choupo-Moting is not the United standard. We were talking about Choupo-Moting. The only way I'd kind of want that deal to go ahead is if we didn't really have many other options and it was a 6-month loan deal to the end of the season, because I don't have a doubt that Choupo-Moting will be able to provide goals. He is kind of a goal scorer. He puts the ball in the back of the net. He's not a fancy number 9, but he does score goals. I think he's got 12 goals for Bayern Munich so far this season, which is pretty good, to be fair, considering the amount of game time he's been playing. So I think Choupo-Moting wouldn't be a bad option, but my personal preference would be to get Felix on loan, see how he would do in our team, see how we would do in the Premier League, and then in the summer, that's when I would really look to get a number 9 of high quality. I don't want to have to sign Choupo-Moting on and then in the summer we're also going for a number 9 and then we're left with like options that aren't really going to end up getting into the team. Felix is going to be in and around the team no matter what. Genuinely, even if we buy another number 9, he's still going to be in and around the team because of how talented he is. And I think we've seen players develop under Ten Hag so much. Like, look what Ten Hag's done with Rashford. Look what he's starting to do with Martial. There's players developing under Ten Hag, and I think Felix would kind of take Ten Hag's coaching really, really well, because he's that type of player that I think Ten Hag likes, a versatile forward player. So, and then in the summer, go for number 9. Some people talk about Harry Kane. Obviously, last year of his contract would be going into next season, so Tottenham are going to have to do something this season with Harry Kane as in the summer. They're either going to have to sign up to a new deal or he's going to leave, so that's an option Man United could be looking at. I don't know if it's a Ten Hag type player that he would go for. I mean, who wouldn't kind of want Harry Kane for the skills he brings, but at the same time, United would definitely be all over that deal, the typical United. I also think Harry Kane is a brilliant striker and you would get 2 or 3 very good years out of him. But if I had the personal option, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but I'd be going for the likes of like Osimhen, someone who's young and Ten Hag can take under his wing and coach and bring to the Man United team and adapt in a way. You're not going to be able to adapt Harry Kane really at 30 years old, whereas with the likes of Osimhen at 24 years old, I think he is, young player, you can make him your Manchester United number 9. So that's what I'd be looking for in the summer. But it's going to be a really, really a huge amount of money if you do go for someone like that. A lot of people are saying Dusan Vlahovic as well. He's another player I'd be looking at. I think he's a very good striker. I know there's some mixed opinions on him, but I think he made the wrong move going to Juventus. I know Arsenal were interested at the time. I think if he would have gone to Arsenal, he would be doing really, really well at the moment. I think in the Premier League, he looks like he would be able to adapt to that with his strength. So I think Vlahovic is another one you've got to look at. Someone young and fresh that Erik ten Hag can kind of develop and take forward as Man United's number 9, not just going for Spurs' number 9, Harry Kane, a Spurs legend in a way, and kind of using him for like a couple of years, and we want to be looking towards the future. At the same time saying that, who would really say no to Harry Kane because of how good he is, one of the best strikers in the world. So it'll be interesting to see how he develop through the summer, because there is options in the summer for Man United to go for if they spend the right amount of money, especially under new owners. There is options there, and it'll be interesting to see what number 9 Man United look for. And that's why I don't really want to go for a desperate Choupo-Moting deal that you're stuck with in January just for 6 months, unless it was a loan. People are talking about Giroud as well. Only would do it if it was a loan. I don't want to go for a striker that's coming to the last chapter of his career and then kind of getting stuck with them like we have done in the past. But it's a good update from Relevo there, and it's good to see that Man United are putting that first initial offer in for João Felix. It's clear Ten Hag wants this player. We went and asked about João Felix's situation this summer. That's no surprise to anyone. That was reported by Romano, that we asked about João Felix's situation in the summer. Ten Hag really likes the player. I hope United can get it over the line, and I hope that the Glazers can at least give us something. I know that they're selling the club and they'll wanting to be saving as much money as possible. I was speaking to Adam a little bit yesterday, and he was saying himself that he doesn't think the Glazers are going to spend any money, but I hope that this does happen. It's positive signs that we're putting in that first initial offer to Jorge Mendes, but we'll see if we do end up paying the amount that is required and Atletico kind of come down on the deal. Maybe when we see that Arsenal are interested in it and kind of make some moves, it'll inspire us to go a little bit higher. But we'll have to wait and see on that. And a lot of people saying, respect you, Beth, but no Kane, please. Exactly. I mean, Harry Kane is a brilliant striker. No one's going to deny that. But I think we need to go into the next generation and the next level. Felix is great and cheap. Exactly. The only problem is that there's no buy option. That's the only issue that I have. It'd be nice to be able to have the option to purchase a player, because if he ends up doing really, really well at United on a loan move, Atletico are just going to put the price really, really high in the summer. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think, if I had to put money on who I think United will buy in January, I think Felix is definitely the most realistic option. I say this and we'll end up with a Depay deadline day deal, but we'll see what happens. And Tim Collins says, back on the sofa funds, Beth. I mean, yeah, the Glazers aren't going to spend nearly anything this January. We would be so lucky if we managed to get 10 mil out of them for a João Felix loan. I think that's the kind of bit we're pushing at right now. And it's hard that we're not able to kind of make that real big push in January, considering how well Erik ten Hag is doing. But it's a situation we're in. It'll be for the greater good when we finally get the club sold in the summer. Fingers crossed that is going to happen sooner rather than later. So it's just something we're going to have to deal with. I don't think it's right. I think the Glazers have billions out of us, especially when the sale goes over the line. They've been taking millions out for years, but they'll have billions out of us when the sale goes over the line. Why can't you just give Ten Hag a little bit of money to help him before you leave as a parting gift to the fans? Especially after everything that's happened, it would be nice, but I don't expect it with these owners. And I don't agree with that. I'm not even reading that out about Kane. And Gaza7UK says, I would still take a chance on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. A lot more to come from him, and young and great in the air. Absolutely not. I don't think Calvert-Lewin is top level at all. I think he's decent. He's not top level, and he gets injured continuously. And it's just not someone I really want to be going for. We need someone of a higher quality at Manchester United. And Jude says the only way Felix can come is by selling Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I'll start here. I don't think we're going to sell Wan-Bissaka. I think he's done too well. Erik ten Hag will keep him as a backup right back at least until the end of the year, because it saves United going out and buying someone else. If we sell Wan-Bissaka, we're going to have to buy a right back as well, which is too much to think about for our board. Selling Wan-Bissaka, but also getting a cheaper right back in, but also using the money to sell Felix. It's too much for them to do in a few weeks in January. So the easy option will be to keep Wan-Bissaka, which I wouldn't mind, to be honest. He's done very well in the games he's had to come in. I want Dalot back, and Dalot will be back, I assume, tonight. But I think Wan-Bissaka has really proved himself useful as a rotational right back at United over the last couple of games. And a few people saying Mitrovic as well. Mitrovic is good, but I don't see United going for him. I think, again, just that little bit. But I think Mitch, Premier League proven 100%, and I would take him. And Matt Hodges says, would you take Tony? Beth, interesting on this one actually. I wanted to mention about Ivan Toney is, I actually was speaking to someone the other day and they were saying if Tony does get charged for these betting things that he's done, which I assume he will, that United should buy him because Brentford would let him go cheap because he's banned for so long, and then buy him already, and then when he's unbanned you'd be able to obviously play him and everything like that. But I think at a club at United where the spotlight is on you 24/7 and reputation is everything, I don't think United will go near him, if I'm being honest with you. But I think he's a brilliant striker. He needs, I think, to take the next step up to a top club. Brentford are doing brilliantly, and respect to Thomas Frank, he's done a great job. But I think Ivan Toney's got the talent to play at a big club, like a really big club, and be the number 9 and be a goal scorer. I think he'd be brilliant at United. He's got flair, he's got pace, he's got athleticism, set pieces, penalties, he can head the ball. I think a Premier League proven as well. I think he'd be brilliant at United, but after these betting things, I don't think United would go near him. But it'd be a good way to get him on the cheap. But I just don't think it'll happen. We've not even been kind of linked to him at all. And Beth, read the chat. We are saying Sesko. Sesko is, I know he signed for Leipzig, but he's still at Salzburg right now. And I think Leipzig get him at the end of the year, is it? If I'm correct on that. But Sesko is another option that I'd be looking at. I don't think he's ready to come in now and be the out-and-out number 9 though. But then if you're looking to keep Martial on and develop someone alongside Martial, Sesko would be a great option. Sesko wouldn't come in and immediately displace Martial, but he'd be good competition, and Ten Hag could develop him as a young striker. I like that shout. I really like that shout. I think it's a good idea. It's just how much money you'd be able to get him out of. It's annoying because we could have done it for just under 20 million in the summer. We know we were looking at him and the option was there. We should have done that. Sesko's got the talent. I think, again, he's going to be a player that will be at a top club in the future, really young. And I think he's 19, 20 years old, really, really young. I looked at him a lot in the summer, and if anyone watched the show, I was pushing for United to go and sign him. I really wanted that deal to happen. It just depends on what United want. If they want an elite number 9 to come in now and hit the ground running, I think Sesko's one that will need to develop, but I think the talent's definitely there. But if you want someone to play alongside Martial and rotate with him and give Martial competition and eventually maybe take that role over, Sesko is the type to go for. It's the same when you look at Moukoko and players like that. Anyway, enough about strikers, because I feel like I've been speaking about João Felix and strikers for quite a long time now. I think 20 minutes into the show and I've been speaking about strikers, and we've got a lot more to get into. So that was really, really brilliant, like talking about these different type of strikers. But we move on to the next story, which is Jack Butland, and this coming on from Fabrizio Romano. And Jack Butland is a new Manchester United keeper, and Romano reported that this deal is done and now sealed, and there will be an official statement expected on Friday, which is today. We've not had that as of yet, I don't think, but this deal has been completed, and I've just got in my ear that it has been confirmed. And I'm just looking in the last few minutes, it's been put on the United Stand Twitter, so let me get them quotes up for you. That segment was really good that it's just been completed about Jack Butland, as we moved into that section of the show. So yep, I can see Jack Butland on my screen right now. Jack Butland signed, sealed, confirmed and delivered at Manchester United. And we've got some quotes for you here from Butland himself, and he says, "This is an amazing club and one that I am proud to represent. I'm really looking forward to working with an unbelievable goalkeeping group, supporting each other every day to create the best training and playing environment for the team." He said, "I've played against David De Gea and represented England alongside Tom Heaton. They are top-class keepers, and I am relishing the opportunity to compete alongside and support them as teammates." He then goes on to say, "There is a lot that this group can achieve this season, and I'm excited to play my part in helping everyone to reach these ambitions." Which I think, by the way, the stuff that he says there is brilliant. You expect that kind of stuff coming from a top professional athlete, but Jack Butland, remember that time when he had that, he was playing for England, everyone thought he was going to go on to have this amazing career. it didn't go that way, but there is a good keeper there, and it's good to have him as a backup to David De Gea. Obviously, David De Gea is number one, and obviously the training, everything around that, the atmosphere, the levels in training, it's all really important, like he speaks of, and everyone kind of plays their part. And then John Murto says, Jack Butland is an excellent goalkeeper with great experience throughout his career. His mentality and personality will be a real asset to our superb group of goalkeepers and the whole squad. And then he goes on to say, Jack Butland joins David De Gea, Tom Heaton and our young keepers to form a strong group who will support each other in creating an optimum training and playing environment. We're all looking forward to welcoming him into the group. So some good quotes there. We know Manchester United's obsession with keepers and the fact that there always has to be quality keepers around. Quality, you decide on that. I think Jack Butland has got qualities. And Tom Heaton also have qualities as backup goalkeepers. We thought maybe they would just leave it with David De Gea and Tom Heaton and then bring a youth goalkeeper in when Dubravka got recalled. That wasn't the case. Erik ten Hag wanted another goalkeeper. We've got Jack Butland. What are your thoughts on Jack Butland? I think he's not going to... I don't think he's really going to play. I think his biggest opportunity to play is maybe the Cup against Charlton. I think maybe it'd be a bit unfair not to give Tom Heaton a run out in that game, but Butland might come in and he might start against Charlton and give him his United debut that way, give De Gea a rest. But Erik ten Hag has made it very clear that David De Gea is the number one. And sorry, I've just seen this quote here, it's so off topic, but Red Best Vid says, sorry, João Felix is a weaker version of Kai Havertz. That isn't true. That isn't true at all. I think João Felix is better. And John Incompetent Murto, he didn't have the best time in the summer, did he? And Erik ten Hag basically has gone and said, I need 3 goalkeepers, it's so important. I had the situation with Ajax and they've gone out and brought in Butland in. It's not rocket science, it's not a really amazing breakthrough deal that we've managed to get over the line. To be honest with you, I don't think, no disrespect to Jack Butland, because it's good to have another addition into the team, but I don't think anyone really cares about this deal, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think people would really take it into consideration going into the January window. Like, who's going to be sat there thinking Jack Butland, brilliant, got that over the line. But it's something Ten Hag needed to do, and it helps out the squad. So I don't mind it, I like it, and at least we know if, hopefully nothing will happen, but if anything did happen to David De Gea, we've got a competent replacement to come in and do a job. So that's important to have. And then I've just got a super chat in from, I'm not going to attempt to read that name, but everyone in the chat can have a look at it, because I don't want to disrespect in any way. But it says, Beth, in your opinion, should we go for an out-and-out target man like Mitrovic or a mobile forward like Felix? I think we need both. I think Felix would be a good option to get in January, and then looking forward, it would be good to get a target man in January, just so you have both options, and that's what you need in a squad. I mean, look, it's City. I know that these are on a completely different level, but they have a target man in Haaland who's also quite mobile, but they also have someone really mobile like Alvarez that they can use. So I think it's important that you have both in a squad that's looking to reach the elite level. And Felix is clear of Havertz, thanks for agreeing with me. And Felix hasn't lived up to his 120 mil price tag. And he's not, no, but the potential's there. There's a reason they paid that in the first place. But wrapping up on Butland, just so everyone is aware, people might have been wondering why we're bringing Jack Butland in after Dubravka was recalled when we've got Heaton. Was it really necessary? Is it a waste of money? And Ten Hag has had his say on it, and Ten Hag says what Butland is bringing is that he's really happy with David De Gea, quite clear. He likes them words, Erik ten Hag, doesn't he? He says, clear, please, all the time. But he says, quite clear, he's our number one. He's a really good performer, but there's always something that can happen with David as well, and you have to be prepared so you don't have one. So you need 3 good goalies in training, but also when problems are coming, you need experience in goal to get your goals, to achieve the goals that you are aiming for. So Ten Hag then went on to explain that at Ajax he had 3 first-team keepers injured and he had to bring someone in from the youth setup, and it's not fair on the goalkeeper from the youth setup to spring them in like that. But also at the same time, regarding the goalkeeper situation, you want people that are competent, you want players that are going to be able to come in and take the pressure off and be able to have a presence in between the sticks. Putting that all on a youth goalkeeper is a lot of pressure to ask, and it can ruin your hopes and chances of getting top 4, of achieving something in the cup. So I think it's a really smart move from Erik ten Hag, and it shows high level that this manager possesses. The fact that he's learnt from his experiences in the past and he won't make the same mistakes again, and he wants to ensure that everything is in place so nothing will go wrong this season. I really, really like it. I think it's nothing that is groundbreaking, but it's something that shows the level of Ten Hag and how obsessed he is with keeping these levels high, and the fact that he won't even allow one single risk going into the second half of the season. Some would say it's a risk not going in with a striker into the second half of the season, but I tell you what, it's a lot easier to convince Man United's board to sign a very, very cheap goalkeeper that isn't going to play than it is to sign a quality player that is going to come in and make an impact. I don't know why, that's how it's always been over the course of the last few years, but we'll see how the rest of the January transfer window plays out. Maybe we go into the second half of the season with just Butland as our January signing. It would be a huge disappointment, but we'll have to wait and see. I think we will sign someone. I think we'll go for Felix towards right till the end. If we don't manage to get him, it'll be a Depay or a Choupo-Moting last minute deal. Charlie Mack says, Moukoko, 15 million, job done. I like Moukoko. He's someone that you can bring in and develop, and I think he'd develop brilliantly under Ten Hag. I think he's got a very good future ahead of him. I think Dortmund, it's very rare that they let this situation happen when it comes to a contract. If anyone doesn't know, Moukoko's contract is up coming towards the summer, but he's not someone you can come in and expect him to take on that number 9 shirt at United at 18 years old. He's a developmental player. We need someone that can come in and start right now in the first team. And someone says, I hope it isn't Depay, please. What about Weghorst, Netherlands striker on loan? Jog on. That isn't even funny, if I'm being honest with you, because it's honestly, I wouldn't be surprised by it. But yeah, and just quickly on De Gea's form as well. I have to say, and I know I've criticised De Gea a lot on these shows, but just bringing Butland in reminds me of like the goalkeeping situation. De Gea has been fantastic this season. Let's hope he carries it on, because I have to admit he's developed brilliantly under Ten Hag and he's performing at a top class level every game. Sometimes his passing can be a little bit more accurate, but he's improving so much, and I think it's really important that we sign up to a new contract, if I'm being honest with you. And when I'm wrong, I wasn't wrong, because I do still agree with the things I've said about De Gea in the past, and I think he's been well below his level and well below par in the last few years. But when someone has changed and improved, I'll happily admit that, and I think De Gea has been performing brilliantly recently, and I would be given a new contract. So yeah, I just thought I'd put that out there on that one. But lastly, to kind of wrap up the last segment of the show, I wanted to talk a little bit about Jadon Sancho and then move into the Everton preview and score predictions. And we've got some quotes from Erik Ten Hag surrounding Jadon Sancho, which is a lot more than what Erik Ten Hag has given us within the past few weeks. In the past few weeks, he's been asked about Sancho and he's just gone, nope, not coming back. Very straightforward, blunt, one-word answers from Erik Ten Hag. But he gave quite a lot of detailed information about Jadon Sancho, actually, in the embargoed part of his press conference that came out at 10:30 p.m. last night. So we've not had chance to speak about it on the show yet. So I wanted to bring these quotes firsthand to you and discuss them here as well. And we've got the first quote from Ten Hag that says, he was in the Netherlands, but the good thing is that he's back at Carrington and that he shows he's making progress and he's ready to take the next step. I think many top athletes in football and also in other sports, sometimes it's good to go away from the place where you are at daily to get a new vibe and a new experience. This can give you the right push to get back on track. He then goes on to say, football players aren't robots, and we thought that in cooperation with Jadon, this is the best choice. And then speaking about Sancho's return, which I think is really important for us to know as fans and kind of be in the know about, because I think Jadon Sancho being on his best form would be so important to have right now at Man United. I think we're crying out for a player like that, especially with Anthony not playing too well the last couple of games. He could have won his place back in the side. I mean, Jadon Sancho on form is brilliant, so it's good to know when he's coming back. And he says, I would like to have Jadon back as soon as possible, but some processes you can't force, and this is one of them. So I have to show patience. We have some hurdles to take, but I think this is a good direction. Ten Hag then goes on to say, in this moment, he's not fit enough to play. I hope he can return quickly, but I can't say a duration of how long it will be. So I don't think he would have gone into that much detail if he wasn't near coming back fit. I think we're like 2 or 3 weeks off Jadon Sancho coming back into the squad, because previously he's just been shutting it down because he wasn't close to coming back, and I don't think he wanted to put more spotlight on the situation. But Sancho has clearly been developing, and he clearly feels comfortable enough to talk about the situation with the press and put it out into the public and say he's not ready yet, but he hopes to get him back as soon as possible. And I know there was quite a few rumours or people inferring from what has been shown and said that maybe Ten Hag and Sancho have had a big falling out. I actually have to say I don't think this is the case at all. If I had to kind of guess what the situation is, which I don't like to do because it's a very sensitive topic and you don't want to put the wrong information out there, so this is just my personal opinion, I think Ten Hag will have seen that Jadon was probably really struggling with, he wasn't having the greatest performances. Obviously he had some really good moments, like it's not as if he was playing awfully until them last 2 or 3 games before he completely kind of went out of the squad. That Chelsea game he didn't play well at all, and the Tottenham game he didn't play well at all, but he had some good moments. I mean, Liverpool, great goal to kind of get Man United back on track, and we've seen some good spells, but we've just not seen consistent high quality Jadon Sancho, and he was probably getting down about it. This is a player that's at Dortmund over the course of 4 seasons scored 54 goals and had 67 assists. I know it's the Bundesliga, but they have some really, really good stats. You could see the way he was playing. He was playing brilliantly. And at United, we've just not seen that player. We've seen glimpses. We haven't seen the ice-cold player that we know is there. And he's probably disappointed himself that he hasn't hit the ground running the way he wanted to. He's probably disappointed himself that he's seen Rashford kind of improve and get back into the England squad, and he sees his friends in and around the England squad, and he's gone from being in the England squad and having amazing numbers at Dortmund to his numbers kind of falling off a cliff, constant criticism, and not being in the England squad. And people say, Beth, these are athletes, these are stuff they've got to deal with. They are athletes, and as a professional athlete, you do have to deal with these bad spells of form. You do have to pick yourself up and get back to it and kind of work out where to improve and have a strong mentality. But at the end of the day, football players are also human beings, and I do respect that about Jadon Sancho in a sense where it wouldn't have been nice going onto his Instagram and seeing thousands of comments that are probably racist as well, because we saw it after the Euros. Bringing another thing back in, the Euros, when he missed that penalty, the amount of abuse he would have got then. He's dealt with quite a lot actually as a young football player. I think people don't realise how young he is. Actually, Jadon Sancho, let me just check his age. I think he's around 22, but let me double check. And there's a lot of pressure. Yeah, he's 22 years old. There's a lot of pressure and kind of expectation on his shoulders with a lot of abuse, negativity, comments that he probably has been getting him down. And that is the way of the world, unfortunately. That's the way things are. Footballers get this day in, day out. But he has had a lot to deal with. And you've seen that he has deleted his Instagram and Twitter and everything like that. I think that's a good step forward. If you can't bear to look at the comments, don't look at them and take yourself away from that. Taking himself to the Netherlands to work under Ten Hag coaches that he has specially recommended, I think is good action to take as well. And I think we'll see Jadon Sancho come back to his best under Ten Hag. I think the talent is definitely there. Look at how Rashford has improved under Ten Hag. I mean, how awful was Rashford's form last season? He just kept getting played through it. A lot of us were saying Rashford probably needed to get taken out of the spotlight because of how poorly he was doing and the criticism that was on him, and it just didn't look healthy. With Sancho, I think it's good that Ten Hag has handled this and taken him out of the spotlight. Even though he's desperate for forward players, he's not rushed him back. He's kept very quiet about the situation up until now, and whatever he said has been really positive towards Jadon, saying he can't wait for him to be back in the squad, but he has to have patience. He doesn't want to force this. He's been very respectful, I think. So I expect to see Jadon Sancho come back, get eased into the squad, and I expect him to reach a very high level under Ten Hag. He's still a player I'm not worried about. I know other people have their thoughts on Jadon Sancho, but I think there's a player in there, and I think if anyone's going to get the best out of him, it will be Erik Ten Hag. So I think it's a player that will flourish under Ten Hag, and that will be important for us. It's like when you've not had a star player, that's because he's been out from injury for a long time, getting them back in the team, it's a real big bonus. So if Sancho comes back and then he comes back firing as well, I think it'll be a big plus for Manchester United, and I think there's definitely room for him in the team. I'd love to see him play on that right-hand side. I'd love to see him kind of have more confidence to take players on and see the old Jadon Sancho that we know is there, and hopefully this time away would have given him that confidence and allowed him to come back into the team and play a high level of football. And obviously you can't expect it all at once, you have to give him time, but I think it will come. And I think if I was Jadon Sancho as well, I'd be looking at the players that are improving. I mean, Wan-Bissaka's improved, Rashford's improved, Luke Shaw's improved. They're just a few names to say the least. We're in quite a good position right now in the league in regarding to expectations at the start of the season. It's a comfortable environment, I feel like, to come into. The team is quite steady right now. There won't be a huge amount of pressure on his back. So I think it'll be a good time to kind of reintroduce him into the team, into the squad. And I'd also be thinking, I was Jadon Sancho, there'd be two things I'd be thinking right now. One is that I can get my pace back in this team, because there is a forward position up for grabs if people don't step the game up a little bit. And two, I'd be thinking, look how much Rashford's improved and how much he's turned his game around under Ten Hag. I have an opportunity here to really get back to my best, and I'd be wanting to take it. So yeah, I like the action he's taken, going on that training camp, deleted his social media. That's a really good first step. It shows how he's dedicated into getting back to his best. But let's see what happens with Jadon Sancho. I would predict around 2 or 3 weeks before he maybe comes back into the team. Probably 2, I think, actually, if Ten Hag's speaking about this earlier, with the amount of games that are coming up, because he knows he's going to get asked about it every game now, so he can't keep putting it off forever. But hopefully we get the best of Jadon Sancho back and he can make an impact into this team, which I know that he can do. But moving on to the last little bit of the show now, and we're going to do some score predictions for the game tonight. Obviously, first game in the FA Cup for Erik Ten Hag. I think it's the 3rd round of the FA Cup, and already drawing a team like Everton. I would have preferred to get maybe like a Gillingham or, I mean, even a Charlton, like we're playing in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday. But we've got Everton and we want to go out and win. We want to stay in all competitions. I did say actually on the show yesterday, for me, it's not the competition I've been most excited about, and it's not where I think the priority should be. But as Manchester United, we want to stay in all competitions for as long as possible, and I think it would be really good for Erik Ten Hag to be able to get a trophy in his first season at United and do that by any means possible. And the FA Cup is a good way to do that. I think it's a good option to go far in a cup run and give this team and Erik Ten Hag an experience in a cup run. So you want to get over the line in that, and we'll be bringing the United Stand team's score predictions to you up on the screen as well. My producer will do that shortly, but let's get some of your comments in as well on what you think it'll be. I think I said 2-0. I think there will be rotation. I don't think there'll be massive rotation. I think the spine of the team will be full strength, but I think there'll be some rotational players in. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Rashford gets rested. He absolutely ran his socks off the other day, against Bournemouth, which I really like to see from him, but you don't want him to get too exerted and too burnt out in games that you don't necessarily require him for, especially with the derby coming up. I think you'd likely to see Dalot and Martinez start from the beginning to get them warmed up and ready to go for the Man City derby that is next week, coming back into the team. Wan-Bissaka's done great, but at the end of the day, Martinez and Dalot are the first teamers, and I think you'll see if they play tonight the level that they can give to the team. And I would expect Casemiro to get rested as well, because he's been playing every game, 90 minutes, and I think we need him fresh for the derby. I mean, you can rest Casemiro against Charlton, so maybe he will play tonight and then rest against Charlton. But I wouldn't be surprised if you saw McTominay come in for Casemiro today, but we'll have to wait and see. And Garnacho is a player I expect to play as well, and I hopefully he scores and gets some good minutes under his belt and excels in the team, because he's got a chance now to really get himself involved with this United team. We've seen he's already taken most of Elanga's sub minutes off him. He seems to always be the first sub for Erik Ten Hag. He's really established himself into the squad. This is a good opportunity for him to give Ten Hag a little bit of a headache and show what he's about. I definitely think he's got the capabilities to do so, especially in today's game against Everton, with Everton being so rocky. But again, Everton have also got a draw at City the other week, so you don't know what to expect. A lot of people saying 2-0. That is my score prediction if you have seen it on the screen. I predicted 2-0 for Manchester United to win this game. I think it'll be hard to break Everton down at first, but I think eventually we will score that goal. I think we've been better at doing that recently, and then I think in the last 10 minutes we'll go on to score again when Everton have to come out and try and go for it towards the end. I think it'll be a comfortable 2-0. I don't think it'll be a battering. I don't think Everton will win, so that's what I'm going with. But a lot of people saying 3-1, Everton to score early. Sam was saying that yesterday, actually. He thinks Everton will score first. Joshua Richards says, Beth, are you going to the game? Yes, I am. Just across the way from the studio. I'll be going later on, and we'll have a fan forum later with Ricky, Kevin, Charlie as well. So stay tuned for that later on. 3-0 United. I also think we need to get some youngsters involved also. Yeah, it'd be great to see Iqbal come off the bench. He's a player I really like. Even Kobe Mainoo might be on the bench as well. Not that I'm saying that these players should be playing from the start. They might get a little run in at Charlton. But if we end up winning comfortably, there'd be good players to bring off the bench, 100%. And thank you, Jamie, for that, saying that we did a good job in the World Cup. Appreciate it. And Christopher says, we win 4-0. Everton are horrible. And Palestri, will Palestri actually get a chance? He's not seemed to get a sniff under Ten Hag. Maybe he potentially can do. 1-0 to Everton, says Magesh. That's not very positive, considering how good United are at the moment. And then a lot of 2-0s as well. And then Paddy Cassidy says Sancho will come good. He's young and yeah, he's very young, and people forget how young and talented he is. And then Ryan says Fred, McTominay, Bruno. Would not be surprised at that at all. I think Bruno will definitely start captain, and he seems to be able to run through brick walls for Man United. He just never seems to be rested. Fred and McTominay, I think, will get a game, and hopefully they do well as squad players. That's what we need them for, to be squad players in the team. David De Gea's been talking about, Lindelof's been talking about, Ten Hag's been talking about it when I was watching the interviews after Bournemouth. This is a squad game. We need squad players to be able to step up when the first teamers need a break. So Ten Hag, I think, is managed this period of games really, really well and rotated perfectly. The Bournemouth win was a masterclass, rotating Varane out of the team, and he's been able to ease Martinez in, and I think he's really getting a hold of this squad and managing the squad very, very well. Something we didn't have under previous managers. Don't want to necessarily name names, but it would literally be the same 11 every single game, no matter the cost under certain managers, and it wouldn't ever change because there wasn't much coaching involved. Under Ten Hag, all players are coached in the same way. Obviously, some players are better than others and are of a higher level than others, but it's becoming a lot more of a team game under Ten Hag, which is really, really important. And a lot of people saying 4-2, 4-1, United will thrash him. I don't think we should get that far ahead of ourselves. Yes, they got battered off Brighton, and that was a really poor showing from Everton. But we were speaking to Toffee TV on the Twitter space last night, and he did reiterate that against City, when they did manage to get a draw, they were really tough to break down. They had a Nana in the midfield, which they didn't have against Brighton, and they played a back five, which seems to have worked the best for them recently. They play a lot better under a back five, Toffee TV was telling me. At Brighton, I think being the manager that Lampard is he's still got some flaws to his game, and he is a naive manager because of how little experience he's probably had in the top level game. And he went back to a back four, and I think was maybe slightly arrogant against Brighton and got battered. So I expect him to return to a back five tonight at Old Trafford. I expect Everton to be tough to break down. I don't expect loads of goals in it, but I do think United will have enough quality to get it over the line. Absolutely. So I definitely think we'll see a United win. There's always a chance for Everton. The last thing I wanted to do is go to a replay. I don't want to replay these games at this point in the season with the amount of games we've got coming. That would be the worst nightmare. So hopefully we can get a goal over the line. But I think United will win. I'm confident. Usually I'm really nervous before games. The last few games have took these nerves out of me. Everton aren't on good form. We should be able to beat them at home in the FA Cup. But I will say it will be a full strength lineup from Lampard. His job is on the line. He's really under it right now with the results that he's been getting. So the players, I assume, will probably fight for him. We'll have to see tonight. And he will be fighting for his job. But ultimately, I think United are too strong at the moment. And even if we do rest the likes of Rashford, I expect him to be on the bench. and we can always bring him on to score a winner. He's even more lethal off the bench against tired defences. So I think we've just got a bit too much firepower for Everton. Anthony also back in the squad, hopefully. He has come back from injury as well. And it was weird how he was injured for that one game. Maybe it's just Ten Hag. I don't think he likes to risk anyone whatsoever. And I like that about the manager. He doesn't want to ever risk more prolonged injuries. And I think Anthony has to step up tonight. I think he has to prove what he's about. I expect to see a good game from him. And I expect him to take the level up, because his game hasn't been great the last few games and we know what he can do. So I want to see more from him. It's a good game to go and express that. I expect him to play if he's fit. Garnacho, again, a good opportunity for him. And I also think Martial needs game time. So I would expect Martial to play as well. So it's a very strong team. And hopefully we can get some confidence in us, rest some players for the Charlton game, ready for the derby next week, which is going to be one of the most important games in a long time for United. So I mean, it's exciting at this moment in time for Man United. Putting in potential bids for João Felix, too low. The bids are insulting, they are too low, but eventually hopefully we can get the price up and we can manage to get that deal over the line. I am hoping and praying. We need something in January of an attacking essence anyway, and João Felix for me would be the best option. Get in the chat down below who you would go for if you had to get a player in January, an attacking player. Who would it be? And Darren Mulaney, member for 9 months, has just put in a chat, any news on a right back? No, I think Wan-Bissaka will stay. We've not been linked to any right backs as of late. I don't think we're going to spend anywhere near amount of money as what we would have expected in January. I think barely anything in January, if I'm being honest with you. It could only be Jack Butland. That's the point where I think we're at. But if we do spend money on anything, it's going to be a centre-forward player. So no news on a right back. And also Jack Butland coming in, does that give you any sort of feelings at all? I expect a lot of people not to care. I mean, I didn't really care, to be honest. I understand it. It doesn't excite me. And then Jadon Sancho, it's good that Ten Hag's speaking about the situation and we can expect him back sooner rather than later. I'm hoping within the next month we get to see him step onto the pitch for United. It's been a long time. He's an exciting player and I think everyone needs to get behind him as well after what's happened, and hopefully we can expect the best from Sancho on his return. And then finally, tonight with the Everton game, what are your score predictions? You've seen our score predictions. What are your score predictions? Who do you think is going to win this game? Are you confident now Old Trafford is returning back to a hard place to go? Are you confident considering we haven't conceded a goal at Old Trafford since Arsenal in September? Do you think we have what it takes to take it to Everton with a slightly rotated team? Make sure you get your comments in down below. And quickly, we got a chat in from Trigger138X saying, any news on Donny van de Beek? Ten Hag didn't have any updates. He said they don't know yet how serious it is, but it isn't looking good. But I assume it isn't going to be good for Donny van de Beek. It didn't look like it would be. And I just wish him all the best on his recovery, because it's so disappointing how halted he's been through injuries, but also his career in general. I don't like to see what you would appear as good players that try the best, and not that anyone should deserve this anyway, but be stunted by injury so much and have their career halted. So hopefully he comes back stronger and it's not as bad as what everybody thinks. And Ewan Gordon said he's a decent backup keeper. Look how good he was at Stoke. So yeah, it's good news that we've got a backup keeper, and it's good news about the Jadon Sancho, and it's good news that we're actually attempting to put bids in for João Felix and we're trying to work on that deal. But thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you to all the positive comments that were in the chat and people getting involved. Thank you to everyone watching. I mean, over 5,000 watching, which is really, really good as well. Great to do the show from 10 a.m. in the studio. It's great to be with you all in the first morning show from me in the studio, and hopefully many more to come. I also want to plug as well, Charlie has done a scout report on João Felix. If you haven't seen it already, it came out at 7 a.m. this morning. We'll kind of turn out some early pre-recorded content for you as well, just to kind of keep the content going and bring as much to you as possible. And I would say it's a very high quality video. It goes in depth on João Felix, what you would give to United, what potentially his weaknesses are, and how Erik ten Hag would use him. I really recommend you go and watch that video from Charlie, the scout report. So make sure you go and watch that video after this one. More coming up for you today. We're going to have Mark back on the show. We're going to have the watch along. We're going to have Mark's final score after the watch along. We're going to be watching the game at Old Trafford, and then afterwards we've got Ricky, myself, Charlie and Kev on the fan forum. So a packed day of content for you surrounding United. And yeah, it's good to be a United fan at the moment. Hopefully we get the win and we stay in the FA Cup. But make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, get your comments in down below, and we will see you on the next one, everybody.